Thank you. At this time, I would like to ask you if you have toothpicks passed out. I was given 2, but everyone has to have them for me to give you this teaching. Can I pass them out now? Do we have them, our staff? Can you just tell me yes or no? Yes. Okay, good. While we're passing out the toothpicks, I will give you the theory of the use of toothpicks. So you can be seated. This is a teaching that El Morya told Mark to give to me. What you want to do is break off a piece of this toothpick, approximately, let's see, about 3/8, starting out with maybe 3/8, getting smaller. This is going to sit inside the gum and the center bottom tooth. So you have to get it exactly the right size. So I'm taking the pointed end of my toothpick now, and I'm putting it inside my front teeth in the center. Then I'm going to put the top underneath my 2 top front teeth. So you can hold it there with your tongue. Now the purpose of this is to develop, this is not funny, this is an exercise. So you will have to pronounce everything very carefully when you do this. I have mine slightly too big. It has to be just right. It's good for enunciation. So the idea is to practice with it and then to practice without it. So we're starting to practice with it. First, when you get this set, is to say, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. See how much I have to do with my lips to do this? So I am creating strength in the movement of my mouth. I shouldn't have to be holding this in place with my tongue. I should be holding it in place only behind the top front teeth and the lower front teeth. So let's say it together. Peter Piper picked up. I don't want anybody saying this if they don't have a toothpick in their mouth. No, you don't count. You can't do this if you don't have your toothpick in place. Okay, you are pronouncing. This is for enunciation. Enunciation. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now you should not be saying that with ease. It should be very difficult. If it's easy, then you don't have it positioned right. If any TAs or people who know how to do this want to come up and look more closely, or if you don't want to put it on the screen, you can do that. But the idea is you have to do it right. So you can do A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U. You can take any poem, anything you want to talk about at all. You can just go around with this in your mouth and forcing your muscles, all the muscles of the mouth, to work. Now, I don't know if you've ever noticed people's mouths, but I notice them. I notice all of people's features. And there is a typical person that is very amusing to me, because without this in their mouth, they talk like this. Well, I went downtown yesterday and I saw this thing over there, and It was a cow next to the road, you know. And they never actually move their lips at all. It's the most fascinating thing you could ever see, right? So as soon as you take this out of your mouth, all of a sudden, your mouth is working so well that everything you're pronouncing is just wonderful. You're not slurring. And the goal is to practice this. Like we can do it with our decree that we were just giving. We love to give this decree quickly. We like to give it at a fast pace. This is going to train us to make each, just with the first chorus. Now this should show an improvement in our enunciation. And we'll only give it as fast as we can say the syllables together. Oh, beloved Astrea, may God purity manifest here for all to see. God's divine will shining through. Will you look at me, please? That's the point. You have to look at me doing it. You know your words by heart, okay? Look at my mouth. Is it a big deal for people to see me? Because I'm teaching them and they can't see me all over here. How much of a problem is it to pull down the screen? We need to do it sometime. But can you set it up for tomorrow? Just say yes or no.
We can do it right now.
Okay, well, we're going to keep going. So if you can see me, it would be good. Together. Oh, beloved Astrea, may God purity manifest here for all to see. God's divine will shining through, circle and sword of brightest blue. Come now, answer this my call. Lock thy circle round us all. Circle and sword of brightest blue. Blaze now, raise now, shine right through. Cutting life free from patterns unwise. Burdens fall off while souls arise. Into thine arms of infinite love. Merciful shining from heaven above. Come now, answer this my call. Lock thy circle round us all. Circle and sword of brightest blue. Blaze now, raise now, shine right through. Circle and sword of Astrea now shine. Blazing blue white my being refine. Stripping away all doubt and fear. Faith and goodwill patterns appear. Come now, answer this my call. Lock thy circle round us all. Circle and sword of brightest blue. Blaze now, raise now, shine right through. Do not run your D's into the next word or in any way distort the D. The D has to be pronounced circle and sword. You have to close the sword. Circle and sword of brightest blue. Okay, then it's time to go back to the toothpick again. Together. Oh, beloved Astrea, may God purity. Did you say the D on the God? Oh, beloved Astrea, may God purity manifest here for all to see. God's divine will shining through, circle and sword of brightest blue. Come now, answer this my call. Lock thy circle round us all. Circle and sword of brightest blue. Blaze now, raise now, shine right through. You have any questions on this? As long as you feel like it. What?
How did she
So that you can pronounce the way I'm pronouncing. Mine is, see, a little of each end goes inside the tooth to support the mouth. It's like, you know, if you have a stick you put in a lion's mouth when you don't want him to bite you, you know. Well, if he ever gets this on the screen, you'll be able to see it. That's too short. So you have to count the space from the top of the inside of the tooth to the bottom of the inside of the bottom tooth. This little sharp toothpick is going all the way up my front teeth behind them, and it's stopping right there at my gum. And the same with the bottom. It goes to the bottom of the gum of these teeth, down to here. What? No, you can't put it between your teeth. You have to put it, it has to go inside your mouth. These toothpicks aren't any good. It hurts your gums. It doesn't have to hurt your gums. You have to find a comfortable place. Behind the teeth and slightly resting on the upper inside gum and the lower inside gum. Well, I don't quite know how else to say it, except I used to use different kinds of toothpicks, that's all. That's the point. That's the point. The idea is to so enunciate that you do it naturally. So if you do it 5 or 10 minutes a day, you exercise your enunciation, and then you find yourself talking that way. You find a lot of people whose second or third language is English, is a foreign language. Is that doing anything for you? See, I can close my mouth, the toothpick doesn't move, I control it with the end of my tongue right there. And that's where I'm pronouncing, there. See? I feel like I'm in a dentist chair and 200 people are looking at me. So, if you speak clearly and separate your words, people whose native language is not English will understand your English if they've studied some English. But if you run it all together and you talk like you have mashed potatoes in your mouth, the British say that Americans always have mashed potatoes in their mouth. You know, they don't speak clearly. They look very much down upon American English, which they don't think is English, it's American. Anyway, we don't have to teach the British English, do we? We have to teach ourselves better enunciation for those who've studied English but are a foreign language. So I have this pretty well in there. It's not too comfortable, but it's not painful. It's really amazing what this will do for you. There's a fluidity of speech. You don't stutter because you're building the muscles of the mouth so that you can say any words without flattening them or speaking in a monotone. So I think it's a very useful tool, and I think for many more reasons that I may know, El Morya insisted that Mark train me in doing this. So that I think for the most part, I don't stumble when I'm speaking, and I speak clearly and I make a point. So a part of etiquette is that we are responsible for making our friends, our guests, our audiences, our people that we want to bring into the teachings. We want to be able to convey to them not only our knowledge, but our love, our caring. And that is reflected in having nuances in your voice. Nuances in your voice that tell people you admire them, you respect them, you love them. They're all different ways of communicating, and the subtle changes in our voices, whether it's a lilt of happiness, whether it's a sadness, these things are very important. So it's another tool of communication that we need to have as speakers. And there are just lots and lots of people who really don't open their mouths much when they talk. So it's kind of disrespectful if you're talking in such a lazy way that the person you are talking to cannot even understand you. You know, you have to meet people all the way to them and not have to have them come to you. I mean, we are the ones that must reach out and give of ourselves. Can you hear in my voice and my enunciation that I'm not forcing it, but I am very clear in my diction. I'm very clear in what I'm saying. And if anyone knows American English, they can understand me. So that's what we want. We want people to understand us. So that's a very important preparation for when you do have to give long talks, because you can get quite tongue-tied, your tongue can get in the way, you can get tired, our jaws get tired, our tongues get tired, but if we've done these exercises, we're not as much susceptible to fatigue, the fatigue in the way we project our message. So, do you have any questions? Well, it was shortly after I arrived in Washington, D.C. that Mark and Morya started me on this, and I did it for a while. I can say that I didn't have a problem in speaking well before I did it, but I greatly improved by having done it. I mean, everybody's going to improve by doing this. And people of any language are going to improve. I think I could understand our Spanish-speaking students more clearly if for a while they spoke to me slowly with a toothpick so that I could know when a word stops and starts, which is always the thing about a foreign language. Words flow together. There are no spaces in English or in foreign languages. And that's the reason we don't understand people, because one word runs into another. So if those who are Spanish-speaking or Portuguese-speaking would teach us how to speak by allowing us to see their mouths and see their enunciation and see when one word and the next word follows, then I think we could learn foreign languages ourselves better. So we don't have to make any bigger deal of this thing than it is. It is what it is, and it's a very helpful technique. Shall we get on with our decrees, or do you have questions about the science of the spoken word this evening? Other aspects of the science of the spoken word? If you have a question, you can come to the mic. I would like to talk to all of you this evening about my experiences in finally achieving the balance of 100% of my karma. I found through the years that
I would balance karma and balance it mightily, and then I would do something else, and I would have to pay debts for what I had done, which were not in keeping with the standards that El Morya expects when we go beyond the 51%. So I learned by trial and error exactly what this game is all about. And the game is all about being centered in the heart, balancing the threefold flame, increasing a tremendous love of the heart, which begets patience, endurance, and walking many, many miles with people. I realized that without realizing it, I would make karma, and I would then balance karma, and then I would make karma, and I would balance karma. And I finally came to the realization that, of course, I could not do this. And this is where each one of us is tonight. The reason that many others of you have not been called is that El Morya wanted to reach those who are of the age of 60 and above, to give you who are of that age and time plenty of opportunity to achieve what you have set out to do, which is the victory of your ascension. You should not be satisfied with the 51%. You should just wipe your brow and say, I've made it at the 51%. Now you can go out the next day, and if you're not careful, you can lose a 0.5%, which might have taken you 2 to 5 years to earn. So it's very, very costly to get out of alignment. This is why for years and years our beloved El Morya, beloved Kuthumi, Jesus, Saint Germain, and others have said again and again and again, go into therapy, do the workshops, study your psychology, so that you don't come to that point where you have no tools with which to deal with anger, sorrow, all types of feelings that we might carry that are below the level of the heart, sorrow, burdens, deep burdens, records, and so forth. If we are not continually engaged in transmutation, we may come to the place where we cannot hold our own and where we will lose ground. So you mustn't lose ground. You must take absolute advantage of the opportunity you have. I have learned a great deal in studying and teaching you the masters in the path. I have come to realize the very subtleties of when we are right there in the heart of the master and when we can be 1/100th of an inch off to the left, to the right, depending on whether we've balanced our threefold flame, depending on whether we are diligent daily to protect ourselves from sudden lashes of the sinister force, sudden manifestations, and we are not prepared because we're not centered in our chakras. And so we may be pulled sympathetically, we may be pulled through anger, we may be pulled by many, many conditions that simply are a part of daily living and daily being tested. God has a right to test us, and we have a right to be tested. We want to be tested because we want to know where we are on the path. So please do not underestimate my words on this subject, because it is very, very true. I have had the opportunity to look at records of various individuals for various reasons in and out of this community. And with great chagrin, I have seen that those who've not been in therapy, not worked on themselves, do not understand their own emotions, their own records, their own feelings, how these people can, through striving and heroic deeds and tremendous service to the brotherhood, can yet turn around, and because they are not in control of their emotions, they lose what they have gained. I've seen people lose as many as 20%. I've seen people earn the 51% and lose it again and again. Now this is a tragedy beyond tragedies, because when one has come to that 51%, it's like one has swam the the channel, the English channel, and made it across. Well, you might not make it back again, but if you do it right the first time and you keep on increasing those levels, you have that momentum going. We are just about to finish the book, The Masters in the Path. We have but a chapter or so left. And I think what we should take from it is how serious is everything that we do, everything that we think, all of our interactions. And one of the good mottos that we find is to say, what would Jesus do under this circumstance? Jesus sent the money changers out of the temple, saying that this was a house of God, and you have made it a house, a den of thieves. There are always choices, and many such choices are extremely difficult. Sometimes someone asks us to help them when we must say no because we know they must help themselves, and it would not do them any good to help them. At other times we know that we must do for others. We feel it and we do it. So I think that those of you who I have named, who are to the level of 60 years old, knowing where you are on the path is possibly the most single important gift that God could give to you in this entire lifetime. To know where you are. It's like being lost in a big city and trying to figure out where am I and how am I going to get where I'm going. That's how it feels when you don't have a sense of co-measurement of how much karma you have earned and how much karma you have had to earn again and again because of just getting out of alignment and not appreciating that every time you get out of an alignment, you are going to lose points. There's just no question about it. So this means we put on that tube of light every morning, get out that sword and have it handy and sharpened, and have it in its scabbard and protected, of course, from children. To go after the binding of the dweller the moment you awaken, starting a new day, clearing that day by early morning decrees. It's a tremendous way to start the day, and it gives you that protection that says, come what may, if someone comes along and drops something on your head, somebody comes along and decides to do you in, you already have that protection on. And that's why we say, start your decrees the minute you wake up, get in the shower, and be doing those fiats. Because you never know when that force is waiting for you. And then along comes an angel of light and deposits at your doorstep each morning that bag of karma that you must transmute for that day. Now that bag of karma may be extremely complex. I think we've all entered days thinking this is going to be a great day, and then 1,001 things come upon us and we can hardly believe that we're going to get through that day. Well, what really happens in this situation is Jesus said, sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof, and we translate that to mean sufficient unto the day is the karma thereof. So each day God gives us a bundle of karma that we can balance because we know the violet flame, because we can give our decrees, and because we have a certain amount of attainment of having done this for a long time. Now comes along, suddenly, out of the past, somewhere on Atlantis 10,000 years ago, this other big bundle of karma comes down in addition to today's karma. Now if we are only transmuting today's karma, then when do we transmute the karma that goes back 10, 20, 30,000 years? Well, of course, if we're going to make our ascension, we have to do today's karma and the karmic bundle that one of the Manus, or one of the great beings of light, has sent to us. And that being says to us, okay, you're equipped to deal with today's karma, but it's not enough. We have to give you this other huge boulder of karma right down in front of you, and you will have to deal with that too. And it may be difficult, it may be intense, it may be overwhelming, but if you don't do both, you won't make your ascension. You have to clean up the karma of the ancient past, and ancient karma is very strange. You don't see it for thousands of years, this karma. And all of a sudden, at the most inconvenient time of your life, when you're all ready to have this great project, you're all ready to get married, you're already start a business, you know, everything's going just great, and what happened? This great calamity fell. Well, imagine people in the world who have no idea what to do of this circumstance, and they get more and more burdened. The economy of the money they have is not great. Maybe they're on welfare. Maybe they don't eat the right food. Maybe they have 6 children. Maybe they have only themselves to take care of those 6 children. I mean, people are seeing that they are coming upon tremendous karma at this time. Not knowing what it is, not having the law, only taking the pablum of Christianity's version of Jesus' teaching. This leaves people in a sense of despair and hopelessness. Enter the Chelas of El Morya, and we go forth to the nations, we go forth to the world, and we in our meetings and in our stumps explain, this is why this is happening to you, this is how you can avoid it, this is how you can protect yourself, this is how you can balance karma by using every spare momentum to give violet flame decrees, plus serving your neighbor, loving your neighbor, and following the precepts of Gautama and Jesus. So those who come to our stumps who do not have this understanding, they're like Mark used to say, flotsam and jetsam. They're just bouncing on the tides of the sea, going wherever the sea takes them. We are directed and self-directed Chelas of the Ascended Masters, and that is what makes all the difference. I do not know what the respective karma was when each of you who stood this night came into this activity. Since I do not have those answers, I cannot give you those answers. But I can tell you that without a question, without a doubt, you have accelerated tremendously by being in this court, by serving, by loving God, and by internalizing the living word. So I have come to the very joyous place in my life that I realize that nothing is worth giving up an ounce of good karma that one has made. And therefore, one must be extremely careful of one's speech, one's absence of speech. In other words, when there is something unfair that is going on, when an injustice is happening, we don't just clam up. We quietly approach the situation and say, is there some way I can help this situation? So when we are on the spot and there is a tremendous burden to someone, an accident, a this, a that, an airplane, a drowning, all of us wind up in those predicaments many times. We are being tested. We don't walk away. We stay there until we've done every possible service that we could render. This is part of being the Good Samaritan. So the way you can lose the karma you have balanced thus far is to ignore a brother. Not to be that Good Samaritan, but to leave him lying in the road where thieves have left him. So when you start observing yourself, seeing what's going on around you, seeing who needs you, seeing who needs help, if you don't stop and take a few moments or minutes or even longer time for that person who is aching and sorrowing and in tremendous pain, you are walking away from someone who needed you. Maybe they didn't ask for help, but you were in their presence and you had the sensitivity to know that they were hurting deeply inside. So when we are on the path, we don't have to sign up to be Good Samaritans in Kuan Yin's chapel and get a little card every year, you know, now I'm a Good Samaritan. We have to be Good Samaritans. In other words, we will make karma if we do not support those whom we see are in need of our help. So think about all of the ways that you can earn good karma through service, selfless service, not because you're motivated to increase the good karma, because that comes along by itself in any case. But to be motivated to serve, to be there, to be ready, to get up in the morning and say, who will I meet today? Who will need me today? What kind of shape do I have to be in to help this person? Am I going to just be so busy that I cannot stop when someone really needs me? So think about all the ways you can make good karma. Think about all the ways how easily you can make bad karma. For instance, if you just take the little things we do in life, what do? We waste food tremendously. Our entire civilization wastes food. It's like a karma of the nation. You don't have to share that karma if you make certain that what you put on the table before your children, they eat it. We do not throw anything away, because this is a sin against God and the food that He has given us. So we consider that food holy, and we don't throw away mountains of food, as Americans are prone to do. So when you start thinking of the etheric body and what karma you can make or have made through the etheric octave, the mental body, the desire body, and the physical body. If you look at the 4 quadrants, each of those 4 quadrants represents karma you have made and karma you can balance. So yes, we have made karma at the level of the etheric octave. We've made it at the level of the mental, the desire body, and the physical. So we may have, let's say, great attainment in the etheric octave. We may have garnered that attainment for thousands of years. We may have kept our etheric body and our heaven world free of all contamination, because we walk and talk with the saints out of the body at night, and this is our home of light, and that is where we shine at the highest levels of perfection, in that etheric quadrant and the first half of the etheric quadrant on the cosmic clock, the section of at the point of 1:30. So you can contaminate the etheric octave with your thoughts, with your feelings, with your actions, with your non-actions. Suddenly you become totally aware that whatever you do is either going to contribute to humanity, to people near you, to people far from you, or it's going to detract, deter, and cause a negative interchange and a negative manifestation in the earth. So some of us have made more karma in one or the other of these quadrants. So the more we think about this, the more we do what El Morya has told us, Gautama Buddha has said, all the masters have said, self-observe. Observe yourself. What are you thinking right now? Where are your thoughts? Where is your sense of attunement with God? Are you letting yourself sink into nonsensical sentences that really don't put together, don't create anything, or just kind of a garbled verbiage that's coming out of the mind but really isn't leading you into very clear, directed lines? This is why I'm saying that when I read the Masters in the Path, it immediately made me extremely aware of everything I am, everything I must do, everything in me, and say to myself, is this honorable? Is this the right action to take? Am I doing right by this person? And you keep on doing that. It's self-observation. You observe, what is your mood? Do you feel sad? Are you letting the levels of your mood of sadness take you down into the solar plexus area, where now the solar plexus becomes vulnerable because you've let your sadness go down to its lowest common denominator, the level of the solar plexus? Or other emotions and feelings of all kinds, irritability, jealousy, this, that, the next thing. Every thought we think is registered. What we make the most karma with is what we do in the physical octave, because it has the maximum consequences for us, for the other person, or for thousands of people that we failed to reach because we didn't get that booklet out, we didn't get this out in time, we missed it, we missed a calling, and so forth. So on a community level, keepers of the flame throughout the world share this Antakarana, this spider web. And whoever is the weakest link tends to bring it down. Whoever is the highest link tends to draw it up. We are part, all of us, when we are part of El Morya's bands, We are a part of that great Antakarana through which we serve. I'm going to read you a little bit from the Masters on the Path that talks about this subject. This has to do with the tutelage of the Master Kuthumi. It has been part of my task for many years to endeavor to train along the right lines any young person whom the Master regards as hopeful. He brings them in contact with me on the physical plane and usually gives brief directions as to what qualities he wants developing in them and what instruction should be given to them. Naturally, he, in his infinite wisdom, does not deal with these younger brains and bodies exactly as with those of older people. In the case of elder people put upon probation, they are left to a large extent to find the most suitable work for themselves. But with the younger people, he sometimes quite definitely puts a piece of work in the way of one of them and watches to see how he does it. He condescends sometimes to give special messages of encouragement and instruction to individuals among these young people, and even to give advice as to their training. Extracts from some of those messages are given here. Advice from the Master. I know that your one object in life is to serve the Brotherhood. Yet do not forget that there are higher steps before you, and that progress on the path means sleepless vigilance. You must not only be always ready to serve, you must be ever watchful for opportunities, nay, making opportunities to be helpful in small things, in order that when the greater work comes, you may not fail to see it. Never for a moment forget your occult relationship. It should be an ever-present inspiration to you, not only a shield from the fatuous thoughts which float around us, but a constant stimulus to spiritual activity. The vacuity and pettiness of ordinary life should be impossible for us, though not beyond our comprehension and compassion. The ineffable bliss of adeptship is not yet yours, but remember that you are already one with those who live that higher life. You are dispensers of their sunlight in this lower world, so you too, at your level, must be radiant suns of love and joy. The world may be unappreciative, uncomprehending, but your duty is to shine. Do not rest on your oars. There are still higher peaks to conquer. The need of intellectual development must not be forgotten, and we must unfold within ourselves sympathy, affection, tolerance. Each must realize that there are other points of view than his own, and that they may be just as worthy of attention. All coarseness or roughness of speech, all tendency to argumentativeness must absolutely disappear. One who is prone to it should check himself when the impulse towards it arises. He should say little, and that always with delicacy and courtesy. Never speak without first thinking whether what you are going to say is both kind and sensible. He who tries to develop love within himself will be saved from many mistakes. Love is the supreme virtue of all, without which all other qualifications water but the sand. Thoughts and feelings of an undesirable kind must be rigorously excluded. You must work at them until they are impossible to you. Touches of irritability ruffle the calm sea of the consciousness of the Brotherhood. The whole Brotherhood is ruffled by these touches of irritability. Pride must be eliminated, for it is a serious bar to progress. Exquisite delicacy of thought and speech is needed, the rare aroma of perfect tact, which can never jar or offend. That is hard to win, yet you may reach it if you will. Definite service and not mere amusement should be your aim. Think not what you want to do, but what you can do that will help someone else. Forget about yourself and consider others. A pupil must be constantly kind, obliging, helpful, not now and then, but all the time. Remember, all time which is not spent in service or fitting yourself for service is for us lost time. When you see certain evils in yourself, take them in hand manfully and effectively. Persevere, and you will succeed. It is a question of willpower. Watch for opportunities and hints. Be efficient. I am always ready to help you, but I cannot do the work for you. The effort must come from your side. Try to deepen yourself all around and to live a life of utter devotion to service. You have done well, but I want you to do better yet. I have tested you by giving you opportunities to help, and so far you have taken them nobly. I shall therefore give you more and greater opportunities, and your progress will depend upon your recognizing them and availing yourself of them. Remember that the reward of successful work is always the opening out before you of more work, and that faithfulness in what seem to you small things leads to employment in matters of greater importance. I hope that you will soon draw closer to me, and in so doing will help your brothers along the path which leads to the feet of the King. Be thankful that you have a great power of love, that you know how to flood your world with sunlight, to pour yourself out with royal prodigality, to scatter largesse like a king. That indeed is well, but take care lest in the heart of this great flower of love there should be a tiny touch of pride, which might spread as does an almost invisible spot of decay until it has tainted and corrupted the whole blossom. Remember what our great brother has written. Be humble if thou wouldst attain to wisdom. Be humbler still when wisdom thou hast mastered. Cultivate the modest, fragrant plant, humility, until its sweet aroma permeates every fiber of your being. When you try for unity, it is not enough to draw the others into yourself, to enfold them with your aura, to make them one with you. To do that is already a long step, but you must go yet further and make yourself one with each of them. You must enter into the very hearts of your brothers and understand them. Never from curiosity, for a brother's heart is both a secret and a sacred place. One must not seek to pry into it or discuss it, but rather endeavor reverently to comprehend, to sympathize, to help. It is easy to criticize others from one's own point of view. It is more difficult to get to know them and love them. But that is the only way to bring them along with you. I want you to grow quickly, that I may use you in the great work. To help you in that, I give you my blessing. Daughter, you have done well in exercising your influence to civilize as far as may be the rougher elements around you, and to help another pure soul upon her way to me. That will be ever a bright star in your crown of glory. Continue your help to her, and see whether there be not other stars which you can presently add to that crown. This good work of yours has enabled me to draw you closer to me far earlier than would otherwise have been the case. There is no more certain method of rapid progress than to devote oneself to helping others upon the upward path. You have been fortunate too in meeting a comrade from of old, for two who can really work together are more efficient than if they were putting forth the same amount of strength separately. You have begun well. Continue to move along the same line with swiftness and certainty. I welcome you, the latest recruit, to our glorious band. It is not easy for you to forget yourself entirely, to yield yourself without reservation to the service of the world, yet that is what is required of us, that we should live only to be a blessing to others and to do the work which is given us to do. You have made a good beginning in the process of self-development, but much yet remains to be done. Repress even the slightest shade of irritability, and be ready always to receive advice and instruction. Cultivate humility and self-sacrifice, and fill yourself with a fervid enthusiasm for service. So shall you be a fitting instrument in the hand of the great Master, a soldier in the army of those who save the world. To help you in that, I now take you as a probationary pupil. I am pleased with you. but I want you to do more yet. For you, my child, you have the capacity of making rapid progress, and I want you to set this before yourself as an object which you are determined at all costs to achieve. Some of the obstacles which you are instructed to overcome may seem to you unimportant, but in reality they are not so, because they are the surface indications of an interior condition which must be altered. That means a radical change which it will not be easy for you to make, but the effort is well worth your while. The rules which I wish you to make for yourself are these. 1. Forget yourself and the desires of your personality, and remember only the service of others, devoting your strength, your thought, your enthusiasm wholly to that. 2. Do not offer an opinion on any matter unless directly asked for it. The point is, if you do offer an opinion that has not been asked for, it's easy to see that an argument could quickly ensue. Before speaking, always consider how what you say will affect others. 5. Never betray or comment upon a brother's weakness. 5. Remember that you have yet much to learn, and therefore may often be in error, so speak with becoming modesty. When called, move at once, not waiting to finish what you happen to be reading or doing. If you are performing a duty of importance, explain very gently what it is. I wish to draw you closer to me, and if you will keep these rules, I shall soon be able to do so. Meantime, my blessing rests upon you. So these are young people who came under the tutelage of the masters. This is the final reading. It's just a paragraph, a long one. Avoid all personal feeling, pride most of all. Distrust profoundly all glorification of the individual. For ambition is the first curse, and the power which the disciple shall covet is that which shall make him appear as nothing in the eyes of men. Be humble if thou wouldst attain to wisdom. Be humbler still when wisdom thou hast mastered. He who forgets himself utterly and devotes his life wholly to the service of others will be saved thereby from many dangers. His heart will be pure as crystal, so that the light of the Logos may shine through it unsullied. His whole nature will respond so truly to the vibrations of his master that thoughts and messages from higher planes will flow through him undistorted, uncontaminated by any lower touch. So shall he serve our masters best by serving the humanity which they love. Most things are relative. I would like to conclude then with a brief statement on this relativity. When we see ourselves balancing 51% of our karma, we rejoice and we jump up and down and we say, what a blessing, what an achievement. Then comes the next hurdle. The next hurdle is the 49%. What the Ascended Masters have told me is that for certain people, as soon as they balance that 51%, they want to snatch them out of the world before they get into bigger trouble. That's the truth. That is not even a joke. It's the absolute truth. Because what the Ascended Masters give us, the first 51%, in its totality is easier to balance than the remaining 49%, which is the hardest. So many Ascended Masters have reached the level of the 100%. And where do we go from there? From there we go into spherical manifestations of being rather than linear manifestations. So if you have balanced 100% of your karma, you have worked at that for a considerable amount of time, centuries or thousands of years. It is a tremendous attainment. It means that when you make your ascension, you will not owe the earth anything because you have balanced that karma. But on the other hand, if you will look at this and remember it well, you are really at point zero. You are where you were when you left Maitreya's mystery school, the original one, you see? So it's very exciting to have gotten as far as we have gotten. But my recordings of my live stream for the remaining 49% were the descent into hell. And in the levels of hell and death, in the deep levels thereof, I wrestled with fallen angels, demons, discarnates, all kinds of challenges to our church, to our organization. All of you know the endless years of press reporting that has not given us our due, and on and on and on. I have had to challenge individual chelas, whether on staff or around the world. I have wrestled with the principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places, wrestled with demons and fallen angels. And I can tell you that the second half, the 49%, is enormously challenging. It's like waging war night and day until you finally got beyond that 100%. So what happens when we get to that level? Well, we have to keep it. And as I said earlier, it is so easy to lose like 0.1%. And pretty soon you're not at 100% anymore. You're a 0.1% lower. So you can lose very easily when you're at the top of the mountain. Okay, so let's say we've all gotten past the top of the mountain. What happens next? What happens next is that you are at serious levels of personal mastery, personal adeptship, arhatship, and you are now beginning to build upon that perfected terrain that you have taken thousands of years to get to, that 100% balance of your karma. So that is the foundation. And from that level, you can have your springboard to victory, octave after octave after octave. Except it's not these levels, it's these spheres going out and out and out, which is how we measure the causal bodies of, for instance, the Lord of the world. We know that he has a vast causal body. You go to mighty cosmos, you go to beings of the great central sun. Their causal bodies are so great that they contain entire galaxies. It just depends on how long you've been in heaven, and some of these beings have never touched Earth. They've never been contaminated. They were the first root races. They went back home, and they never compromised their path. So, on the one hand, we have a tremendous victory, and it is a great victory, and we're not going to gainsay it, and we're not going to say it isn't, because we know how hard we've worked for it, and we know that the Ascended Masters have not in any way coddled us. They have disciplined us, and if we have done wrong, we get our karma, and we have to go and turn around and balance that all over again until we get so tired of, it's like training a little mutt, you know. You put his little nose down and you say, you know, this is how it goes around here. And finally, after about 10 or 15 times, he knows he has to go outside, and, you know, that's the way life is. So here we are. I don't want you to rest on your laurels, but I do want you to know that the gift, that the victory that you have won has been hard won. You may think you know how hard it has been, but you do not have a recollection of how many thousands of years it took you to make the negative karma, and just what a triumph we're talking about. We're talking about a stupendous triumph, but we do not want to say we are going to stop here, even at the 100%. At that 100%, we are going to now develop our self-mastery. Tremendous self-mastery, tremendous rings upon rings of our causal body, and rings literally around our own four lower bodies, until we can walk the earth in the footsteps of El Morya, Kuthumi, Dwal Kul, and the great masters of the last century who made their ascension in 1890 91, 92, and so forth. That was the time of the ascension of these masters. They had great attainment before they made their ascension. They took that ascension, and we are the benefactors, for they have come back to help us. Of course, they have balanced 100% of their karma and much more, because they are the great adepts. So for them to come back and tarry with us, we who are their chelas, we owe them a profound debt of gratitude. And we should always remember this, that we really didn't get here without a tremendous amount of help, and that we should value what we have achieved as though every pound of it were gold ore that was hard won. Please do not lose, but win every day. That's my love and request to you, and that is El Morya's message for this darshan and this February 26th celebration of the great victory of our Lanillo. Thank you. Fire when ready. Turn around. This is a painting of the mother of the Aquarian age, and it has been done by Marius George. May we see you, Marius? Will you go up to the painting? Will you go up to the painting?